On May 4th, 2026, Google quietly killed Project Mariner, its most public AI agent. That notice landed 15 days before Google I/O 2026, the company's biggest developer showcase of the year. The landing page left one line: "The technology has voyaged to other Google products." Behind that notice was 17 months of DeepMind work, built, shipped, and quietly closed. No rival beat Mariner. A completely different idea of AI agents had won, and Google already knew it. Mariner didn't connect to Expedia servers. It watched Chrome the way a human would, cursor and all. Every action started with a full screenshot. An AI scanned that image to find every button and input field. Only then would Mariner send the click or keystroke, coordinates extracted from what the AI had just read. Booking one Expedia flight meant running that capture scan click cycle roughly a dozen times, from the first search to payment. Google ran that loop for 17 months, and rivals were already building agents that needed no screenshots at all. Even at its peak, 10 tasks at once, tucked behind a $250 a month paywall, Mariner never really got a fair shot. Publicly, that looked like acceleration, but inside DeepMind, Mariner's team was being quietly reassigned by March 2026. May 4th, the page went dark. 2 months after the last engineer had already moved on. A price tag, an upgrade, a quiet reassignment, something shifted outside Mariner, not just inside it. The paradigm that ended Mariner wasn't a better browser agent. Anthropic released computer use as a bare API in October 2024, no browser required. Mariner watched the browser like a human temp. It needed a fresh screenshot just to know where each button sat. Claude Code doesn't look at the page. It calls the endpoint the submit button is wired to, straight through to the server. One reads the web like a human at a terminal. The other reads the wire, machine to machine, no intermediary. And that design choice carries a cost, hiding inside every screenshot. One the $250 paywall had to absorb before a task even started. One Mariner task consumed more compute than 50 equivalent Claude Code tasks, and that math was never going to hold. Every action started with a viewport capture. Millions of pixels pushed through a vision model just to locate one input field. Claude Code sends a few hundred tokens to an endpoint. No image processing, no vision model, no pixel overhead. 50 times the compute per step, every step. At that ratio, a $250 monthly price was never going to cover the bill. Google's engineers had already run those numbers, which is why Mariner's shutdown and Mariner's technology ended up as two different things. What the shutdown notice didn't say: Mariner's underlying capability didn't die. It was absorbed into 3 separate Google products. Gemini Agent took the core, the same multi-step task work, now embedded directly inside Google's flagship AI product. Chrome's Auto Browse absorbed the navigation layer. That scroll and click capability is now part of the browser itself. The Gemini API had 2 enterprise pilots running by I/O 2025, Automation Anywhere and UiPath, live and trusted. Google stopped selling agents and began shipping them as infrastructure, which raises a harder question about who's actually winning. By April 2026, Anthropic was already out-earning OpenAI, $30 billion annualized against OpenAI's $24 billion in the same quarter. Claude Code accounts for roughly 4% of all public GitHub commits in 2026, across tens of millions of repositories. That commit share runs on a $2.5 billion annual run rate, built entirely on the API-first design that Mariner never tried. And in May 2026, Anthropic crossed OpenAI in U.S. business adoption, 34.4% to 32.3%. Google's pivot is barely 3 weeks old. The signals that determine who actually wins this market haven't printed yet. Watch 4 things: the I/O demo, revenue disclosures, Chrome's API, and whether startups fully pivot. The scoreboard is still live. Send this to anyone who said Google was losing the AI race. Changing paradigms is a harder game than winning a product sprint. Subscribe to Marker and Mind. We explain the story behind the headline.